they all say that as rates start stabilizing and coming down, that prices are going to go up as interest rates come down because people are on the sidelines, and that we have a serious lack of supply. This is, I know we've said it ad nauseum for the last 151
news to me, David.
episodes, but
you're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate today.
Hello, and welcome back to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast, where we talk about mortgages, real estate, and whatever else we want to talk about that day. Haven't said that in a while. My name is Paul Stevenson. I am a mortgage agent. You can check me out at PaulStevenson.ca. I am also joined by David Warren, mortgage agent, owner at referralmortgages.com, and Greg Campbell, realtor extraordinaire with the Agency Ottawa. The Agency.
The Agency.
And gentlemen, we have all had quite a few days. Greg, you were out last week with some personal matters.
Yeah.
I had some personal matters this morning and over the last couple of days, and David celebrated a birthday.
I was going to remind me.
Who wants to start?
Let's let the birthday boy go. How was your birthday weekend there, bud?
It was good. Instead of being up at the cottage with the guys on Thursday night, I was in Montreal at a Scotiabank meeting, listening to their chief economist, which was thrilling because they made it all in French. I was very thrilled with that. And
Dave's fluent, if anyone doesn't.
Wasted my freaking night. I was definitely mapping at 7:30 p.m. of how long a drive was to the cottage, as a few of the guys are already up there. And I was like, 3 hours in the dark, rural Quebec, probably not a wise idea. But no, it was good. Got up for dinner Friday and then went to Saturday. Actually went and saw a show at the casino. I haven't been to a show there before. Went and saw Matt Dusk. He's a Canadian, sounds a lot like Michael Bublé, but he had a Frank Sinatra show.
Nice.
So that was something different. It was a good time. Other than that,
right on.
What it?
He's got the balloons to show for it.
I do.
For those that don't know, I had hernia surgery. I had a little hernial repair last week in Toronto, and it was very interesting. I don't know if anyone has had that before, male or female. It's possible. It's very common. And this place, the Shoulder Center in Toronto, is basically a hernia surgery factory, and they do about 25 surgeries a day on average. Very interesting experience. I'm glad it's done. I'm in a little bit of pain. It takes about 4 weeks to fully recover, but I'm doing good. I went down on the train. I had a few days. They feed you, you stay, they keep you there. That's how they run it. It's not an in and out kind of procedure. And you meet people that are all there for the same reason. So you talk a lot about hernias, and you learn about other people, where they're from. There's a few that are probably watching the podcast this week now, which is great. My roomie Peter from Vancouver, he was great. We had a good time together, lots of good chats, and he's actually an investor too. So that was pretty cool. A lot of real estate stories, and that's what I've been doing. So now I'm back. I came back yesterday, and here I am.
Greg and I were FaceTiming while he was walking the grounds, and it had a very One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest feel. Hey?
Yes.
Greg's like, I'm just in my gown walking the grounds. Look, there's people here. They let me out today. Hey?
The grounds are actually spectacular. I got a lot of pictures. They're massive grounds. It's in Thornhill, just outside of Toronto, around Vaughan, and just spectacular grounds, very well kept. And then just everyone, the service there was unreal. So I recommend it to anyone. If you have a hernia and you can afford, it's a 4-day trip. It costs about $1,200. You pay, that covers your food and your stay basically, but well worth it. It's kind of consider it like a little mini holiday, a little rest and relaxation while you are operated on and you are repaired. But instead of waiting an extra, and you can get in about 2 to 4 months. If you have a hernia, go to the doctor here. It could take you anywhere from 18 to 24 months to have the surgery. And
wow.
So if anything goes wrong, then you got to go back to the emergency room. Here they keep you. It's just different experience. Ranked number 1 in the world for hernia.
Wow. Amazing.
So I'm now a member of that.
Our healthcare system has some gaps.
I think
I don't
so.
know what's happening.
Okay.
Something is exploding at my house.
Another tick
Don't-
fly
what
by you
about
or what?
Paul? I think this is the longest intro we've had in
I know.
You know what it was? It's because
Who's
I had set a
fast-forwarding or tuning out?
stopwatch. I had set a stopwatch and a timer. We don't have our
Ah.
producer today, so I'd set a stopwatch online, but there was also a 5-minute timer. So that was
Wow.
our
Confusing.
Hey, what's that? What was that Saturday Night Live? Like, yo, wrap it up, wrap it up. Remember? They had the box and the thing that said wrap it up. You have the wrap it up. Anyways, the wrap it up sign. I'm not even gonna tell you what happened on my weekend because it'd probably take another 5 minutes. But long story short, engine blew Wednesday night. Car might be getting a new engine, completely covered under warranty. I'd got it 3 days prior. Was a nightmare of 24 hours, but it was great. Went to the trade show on Thursday. The Orb trade show was incredible. Shout out to everyone who came to see me there. Saw some old faces, new faces. It was really great. And soccer tournament this weekend. Woke up with a tick in my body today. That was fun. That was a skin tag. It wasn't. Had legs. Had to pry that out while making lunches this morning. And here we are. I got home about 5 minutes before we got on. So
The tick
welcome to my life, everyone.
ticked off, bro.
That's my summary.
Our
Yeah.
20-minute weekend recap. How about we get into some?
You know what? People like it.
topics.
It's a conversation. If you're listening to the conversation, you're a fly on the wall here. You're getting all of us catching
You're a
up.
tick on the wall.
You're a tick in the skin. Yeah. Okay. Where do we start, gentlemen? How's the week? What are we seeing?
Well, I mean, Bank of Canada held rates. We could start there.
Yeah, oh yeah, true. Very
I'm
good.
sure everyone knows that. So that's great news.
Hey, you can tell who's in mortgages about 10 minutes after there's any announcements. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Holy
If you
shit.
doubted who is in the industry, you'll know right after there's a Bank of Canada announcement.
Yeah. Everyone's a professional.
Yes. So I actually put in here, I put in our chat basically what the target rate for each individual lender is. I'll make sure that Steve puts that in the chat or in the comments. So target rate year end 2023. So we got all banks, BMO, CIBC, National Bank, RBC, Scotiabank, TD, all have it at 5%. So assuming there won't be any changes in December, that's our expectation as well. This is an interesting one. Target rate end of 2024. So this is kind of where they expect their rate to be, the overnight target rate to be, target rate to be at the end of 2024. This is their expectation. So BMO says 5%. They think there'll be no change. CIBC says 3.59, which is quite low. And National Bank, RBC, Scotiabank all say 4%. And TD is saying 3.5. This is by the end of next year.
No way.
Even further ahead, let's just go crazy. End of 2025, BMO has no comment. CIBC 2.45. National Bank, RBC, no comment. Says not applicable. Scotiabank 3.25. TD 2.25.
I don't believe any of it.
No?
No.
So this puts prime right now. We're 5%. Prime's at 2.2%. So this would put prime even for the
7.2.
7.2. Yeah. So
Yeah.
but at 2.2 over the
over,
overnight.
yeah.
So these are the overnight lending rates, Bank of Canada overnight lending rates. So RBC is saying effectively 6.2, and then all the way down to TD at 5.7 as prime. I mean, really any of them, yeah. I mean, it's a friggin' coin flip on any of them. I think everything that I've heard from most economists and chief economists have been like dropping by a full percent by the end of, like, in that 0.75% to 1% by the end of 2024. But again, there's a lot that's starting in the, still, no matter what, nothing's changed. Even from the French chief economist from Scotiabank, I got the Coles notes afterwards in English, and he was basically saying the same thing of nothing changing until June. So it seems like everyone's almost a consensus of the Bank of Canada starting to drop around mid next year. So for any of these that are looking at the 4% and 3.5 for TD, because they're even saying the same of the June, that's going to be a pretty quick decrease for the latter half of 2024. Like 6 months and a full percent would be interesting.
Les taux baissent, David. The rates are going down. That's all Dave understood from the...
I did not even understand that.
I had to Google it. So certainly not any better myself. Yeah, no, it is interesting. I think I've actually seen the last probably 2 weeks, more people at least inquiring about variable. So I think especially after the Bank of Canada announcement, I had two clients last week that we were submitting for approval that switched from fixed rate to variable. Like we'd kind of been talking about all of them. And then when I heard the rate announcement, I had kind of explained to them, like, this is probably going to hold. Like there probably won't be an increase or any change. And after that happened, they said, we're going to go with the variable. So it seems like people are open to it now, or at least I have some clients that say like, well, we will never go fixed. Like they're just committed to variable. Like, oh, my economics professor told me always go variable, and they're devout to that. So yeah, so it is interesting though, seeing kind of the ebbs and flows of the rate decisions by clients. Obviously, we're here to guide them and give them options, but ultimately, we have to make sure that they're making a sound decision and they're comfortable with that rate option. So interesting hearing people inquiring more about variable. A couple years ago it was very standard, like more people were going variable, as we know. But I think it was April or May of this year, they said 95% of people took fixed. It was some like absurd number. So I'd imagine that's probably sneaking down to close to 50-50 again, if I had to guess.
But then
probably 70-30, but it's on its way down, I would imagine.
In the same breath, every bank though, and every economist and every article that you look at, not just us talking about it and not us making it up, is that they all say that as rates start stabilizing and coming down, that prices are going to go up as interest rates come down because people are on the sidelines, and that we have a serious lack of supply. This is, I know we've said it ad nauseum for the last 151 episodes, but I think, it's really something where everyone, if you are on the sidelines, if you are thinking of buying, certainly, again, like in the next few months is going to be a good time to buy, because if every bank and every economist is really targeting mid next year for starting to decrease in rates, waiting until that happens, you're going to be caught off guard, and rates are going to just go from there. If there's a sentiment that it's coming where rates are going to go down, and we're maybe in February and people are expecting it to start decreasing in May or June, then those people are also going to be jumping, starting to pick up momentum as well coming out of the winter.
The most common question I probably got asked at least 4 to 5 times in conversations on Thursday from realtors was, I have lots of clients shopping pre-approved that aren't buying. Like what should I tell them? And it was exactly that. I said, well, if they're waiting, like what is the purpose of waiting? And most of it was like, well, they're waiting for rates to come down. They're waiting for prices to drop further.
Worst strategy.
Yeah, worst strategy. That's what I said. I said, if you can just simply tell them, like, if rates do come down, then prices are going to go up. And it's inevitable.
I think for any realtor listening on here, or mortgage professional, that you have clients that are asking that, or a realtor and they're talking, you have clients talking about they're waiting for prices to come down, etc. I would say don't give them even your opinion. Look up and just send them news articles from economists. Every bank, every economist, CMHC even has it. Everyone is stating that things have leveled off right now, that the trough was in June and February, and you can even show that price leading up to June and February. Just use the actual statistic, the actual hard numbers, and provide articles from the last week. It doesn't matter what week you look at, you can find them on Globe and Mail, Financial Post, like every new, it doesn't matter what newspaper you go to their site, you can find articles on it. Go to CMHC directly and you'll find articles within the last week, because every week they keep coming out of supply being way too short, immigration being up, that there's not enough, and as soon as rates start coming down, that business will pick up. So I'd say just use those and don't even just give them your opinion. Be like, here's what others are saying. Here's what even CMHC is saying. Here's what, and use that to your advantage.
There are so many opportunities right now, and there are homes that have to sell, that have been on the market for a while, and the price reductions and the final sales price drops in a lot of these is staggering. So if you're not in all homes, but if you're looking to buy right now and you see a price and you just think that it's too high or something like that, just go see it, submit an offer, and see where it goes. Because I'm telling you, I've seen like price reductions and drops right now are just ridiculous. Like let's say you were looking for what was $1 million, like a $1.1 million home. I've seen more $1.1 million homes sell for $900,000 in the last month than I have ever in the history of real estate of my career. So the opportunities are there. If you're looking, I mean, I've just been kind of working around that price point lately. And here's another interesting fact about that price point. Anything built between 2018 to 2023 that was 900,000 to 1.1 million in the suburbs. So that's Orleans, Barrhaven, Canada, Stittsville, Findlay Creek, and Riverside South. Anything detached that was in that price point, there was only 4 sales in the last 3 weeks at that price point in a detached single family home. Wow. So think about that. And all of those were on the market for over 120 days. And they sold for almost that long. And they all sold for in and around the low 900s. So I'm telling you, like, there's opportunity. I'm not saying that every house is going to sell like they're going to do a crazy reduction like that. They're a little bit more balanced now, like especially the new ones that are coming out. But there's opportunities, guys, that have never existed in the last few years for a home like that. If you can, if it's in your capacity to afford that, with the rates being where they are right now, based on
do you see that million mark being like almost like a resistance level, or is it just that's just the number? That's just where houses are at.
Well,
like,
that's
people not wanting to pay more than $1 million, or is it just a matter of?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, right? And I don't know what it is. It's like I'm seeing like homes that they would have been listed. Some of the new ones coming out would have been listed over $1 million a few months ago, and now they have to list under $1 million, and chances are they're going to sell low 9s, depending on the urgency of the sale, right? It's all about the positioning of the seller, like what they need to do. It's like the folks that I was telling you guys about a few weeks ago. We got one that was originally listed at 1.15, 1.15. We got it for $935 110 days later.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. There was another one that I just saw. It was listed at 1.5. It dropped down to $999, dropped down to $975, and it sold for $900. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's a good buy, because now that's more accurate in true value over time.
I haven't seen an APS come in at list price in at least a month and a half.
I'm going to say I just got an purchase agreement on Friday. They were holding offers.
Yeah.
And it went 50,000 over.
But
it
was probably listed at a great price.
Yeah, but the accepted offer is conditional, like on the sale of their house still. But still went 50
in a multiple
over.
offer.
In a multi offer.
That's a great story. In still a multiple, still a first refusal. Wow.
Still, 50 over the list, a single family, and Barrhaven, I believe. And
guess we'll see what their place sells for, eh? We'll see if we get that extra 50 for hours.
And then another one, but it's a unique property with acreage out in Ashton, and they had a lot of action on it, and it went over list, actually slightly, like 10, but it was big acreage. Yeah.
Here's another interesting general fact I can tell you. Orleans again. I started working on this a bit last night. Any townhome built between 2013 and 2023 in Orleans, the last 4 weeks, there's only been 4 sales, and the average is 600. And there's 12 active on the market right now. And the average price of that is, let me just bring that up here. And the average price of the actives is 640. And that's 40 days on market. So let's see how long that lasts. So those ones at 640, there's one that skews that a bit. It's a big 4-bedroom, brand new. That's at 720. That's been on 75 days. There's no way in the world that's selling at that price. So, the average of 600, that's great. That's a good price. And I think things are probably going to stick around there. It may go down a bit more, but I mean, to think that you can get a nice newer townhome, 600 or less right now in Orleans, that's great.
Yeah, it's, I guess, to your point, I mean, you're right, Dave. There's going to be those kind of anomalies. I feel like we've said this before, though. Like right now, even with that multiple offer, like the fact that there's that first right of refusal just shows that like the power's in the buyer's hands right now, even in a multiple offer situation.
Yeah,
Well, and listen to this. So imagine you get that offer, and your first refusal is a townhome in Orleans. Mm-hmm. Average days on market is 40. Mm-hmm. So that first refusal is either going to price competitively to sell so they can get into that home, which is obviously, probably their dream home. They won in multiples to get it with the first refusal. But I mean, the seller can be expecting 40 days. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at right now. So I know we say this a lot, like, during certain times of the year for buyers that it's the time to buy. But from what I see, the trend over the next 4 months is a killer opportunity for anybody that has the capacity to buy and is looking to buy, especially for people that are renting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially for people that don't have to sell. Long. Yeah, if you're getting into the market. Amortizations has also been something discussed a lot recently. Banks have obviously been saying that, they're extending amortizations and they've have, X amount percent of amortizations over 30 years. And it's kind of been all the rage. On our side, Dave and I were talking about this last week, that there are lenders, for anyone who doesn't know, the standard is 25 years if you're getting an insured mortgage, less than 20%. But if you're putting more than 20%, or in some cases 35%, you can get up to 40 years as an amortization. Now, Equitable Bank they're offering a 40-year amortized mortgage in Canada. There are other lenders that offer it now. But Greg, you sent me this over the weekend, which I thought was very interesting. It says, at a constant 6% annual interest, your total interest paid with this product would be 164% on a 40-year amortization or 40-year amortized mortgage. So if you borrowed $500,000, you'd pay it back over 480 payments of $2,751, which equates to $1.32 million over the 40 years. Mm-hmm. Now, that is obviously a very staggering number, but as I said before we came on air, I think if you did that for a 25 or 30-year amortization mortgage, you'd also be blown away at how much interest you pay. So this one's a bit more staggering because you got an extra 15 years on there. But, I mean, amortized over 25 years interest, compounding semi-annually, it adds up. It certainly adds up.
The longer amortizations, though, for a market for qualifying like we are in now, mm-hmm. are used and should be used as a short-term solution, in the sense of that you're using it to qualify now while the qualifying rates are high, mm-hmm. to get you so that you can get into that home. And as rates come down over the next year, 2 years, that you're then refinancing out and transferring over to your conventional bank, because your TDs and RBCs and Big Six, et cetera, your A lenders or monolines are not going to be offering 40-year amortizations. The max they're going to offer is 30-year. So, keeping in mind that any of these 40-year amortizations, you do have to have a minimum of 20% down to qualify for these. These are conventional mortgages; they are not insured mortgages. But it's a short-term gap. It's really or stopgap to get into the home now while qualifying so high. But yeah, I mean, if for those that are leaving it for the entire term, that whole 40 years, it's
it's daunting. But again, like you said, like if someone is in a point now where maybe they took a 30-year amortization up front to get into the home, and now rates are up and they can no longer qualify for 30, they may have to kind of extend it just to keep that home for now, and then like you said.
But it's true, you can you do that for 2-3 years. 5 years if you need to, and then you can switch it back when you can qualify in a different way.
Now you put that up against, though, the 40-year trend history of price increases on real estate in Ottawa. So you take a $500,000 house, using that article, 1.3 over 40 years. Like, what percentage of increase has 40 years ago of a property gone up as well in correlation?
Yeah,
I'd be interested to see what it, is it worth
400%.
Yeah. So is it worth then, like, that 500,000 in 40 years really worth 2.5 million? As crazy as that sounds, but
yeah, I don't know.
That'd be.
Or do we even own anything anymore at that point?
We're all in the matrix.
Good segue. Dave, you had a CBC article.
Yes.
I think you wanted to touch on that was.
Yes. I mean, it's more, it's something to chat about and how it can maybe parlay or affect real estate, but also for getting people's opinions on whether they think it's a good program, one that's going to, benefit or not. But it's looking at, there's a bill right now that's been tabled in the House of Commons that is working its way through for a basic income, a basic living wage for all Canadians ages, I believe it's 17 and up. Whether you're resident, permanent resident, a refugee, really falls under everything. It's almost $17,000 per single individual, $24,000 per couple, and an additional $6,000 for disability. So what that disability, what constitutes or falls under that disability, really not sure. I don't know that that's been really outlined, but really this is, they tested it with CERB. That was their really where the idea for CERB came from, because it was already being talked about with the current government and prior, and now is actually a tabled bill. And like I said, it's actually getting pretty far along. How do my kind of thinking on it is number one is we already don't have a balanced budget, and where's the money coming from, and how many people are going to take advantage of this or that should not. We saw that with CERB. But then how does that affect income? We've got people that are employed, our employers now having to basically just add an additional 17,000 basically on everyone's income, which then is boosting up cost of living anyways, and then boosting up what people qualify for in a mortgage, which then puts up housing prices. And how that parlays. I think it's an interesting
so
bill.
UBI would be provided to all citizens, right? Like, it's not just the people, unless that's specific to that bill, but the standard UBI is for everyone. Like, everyone would get it regardless of your income. Like, everyone gets the UBI. So it's just like a base amount. Like, from what I've read about it, I didn't even know this model existed until like 5 or 6 years ago, and it kind of piqued my interest because it was just something new. And obviously, there's many different ways to run societies, and people have tried many different ways over the years, and this is definitely one of them. The pros, from what I understand, is obviously poverty and inequality reduction. So the hope is that, with a guaranteed income, that people can cover their basic needs, food, clothing, etc., housing, which would decrease poverty levels. And then the second main thing is the freedom to choose your work. So the hope is that with UBI, you can kind of pursue jobs that you're truly passionate about or take time to learn new skills. Now, whether people do that, I don't think that happens often, but that is the thought process. And then the negative is obviously the high cost. Like, the implementation of it is, requires substantial funding, and obviously higher taxes, increased national debt, et cetera. And then potential for inflation, which we're trying to combat right now. So, adding to inflation in a time when we're trying to battle inflation would be, pouring gas on the fire, but we will see. I can't really say if I'm for or against it right now. It's very, there's a lot of bullet points that you would have to work through. But like you said, I think COVID was an interesting trial, I guess, of that. And it wasn't necessarily for everyone, but for the people that needed it. And even at that, people abused it. So in this case, I think it is a bit different because everyone does get it. So people would probably, the people that don't need it might reinvest it or donate it, or, it might increase social services.
But are you taxed on that?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, it would be minimal, but I'm just wondering how.
I mean, under, at that level of, just shy of 17,000, I don't believe that, if that's the only income you're earning.
Yeah, if you're earning,
then that's under the threshold. But any others, and for sure it's being added on and being adding to your income and being taxed on.
But directly related to housing, you're right. Like, if every single person has a $20,000 bolster to their income, it's going to help them qualify for more, which is just going to drive up prices further, right?
Yeah.
And if it causes further inflation, that means interest rates are also going to continue to go up. So it's kind of like, you can't have everything, right? Like we were saying before, like, if rates come down, prices go up. Well, if you give everyone more money, prices are going to go up, and probably rates are going to go up due to that inflation, at least the variable rates. Yeah,
it's just it's something that I came across. I mean, like you said, I guess this was tabled in 2021. I hadn't seen any articles, and they've just really started a number of articles coming out this past few days. And anyways, I found it interesting, just, as an overall for what effects it'll have, to your point, Paul, of, on poverty and everything like that, but then also on employment, who's doing what jobs, are people going to want to work certain jobs, and then also, correlating to, what we're on here talking about is on real estate, like what that impact has. And anyways,
we'll put it in the chat. We'll table it, and I know we're planning to put kind of that clip on socials. So, I'll get just a quick soundbite. Eh? What do you think about universal basic income? Hey, what are the pros and cons in your mind? There we go.
Yeah, I'll clip that in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, lots of things happening. I feel like we could probably go for another half hour today, but we're at our 30-minute mark, gents. Do we want to get into the consumer trends, or let's just get into the mood boost?
Get in the mood boost.
All right,
let's do it.
I have some Halloween mood boost today. Since this will be coming out on Halloween, we'll get some of these in. Greg, you may have seen these already, so I do apologize. But here we go. Give me a second, so I can find them. You guys keep talking.
Mood boost music. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. It's like a jazzy.
It's that hernia. All right, here we go. There's 4 today. Number 1. How do you know if a mummy is sick? He can't stop coughing. Number 2. Can't stop coughing. Number 2, why can't skeletons play church music? They have no organs. Yeah. Number 3, what kind of underwear do mummies wear? Fruit of the tomb. Fruit of the tomb. And last but not least, what's a vampire's favorite ice cream, gentlemen? Vanilla. Vanilla.
Does Fruit of the Loom even exist anymore?
Yes. Yeah, they do.
God, I remember those ads. They were the best.
I literally just bought my son some new Fruit of the Loom underwear over the weekend.
You own the Loom.
Yes. Yeah, also, I should say getting back to the tick, that was from raking leaves. So if you're out doing any yard work in the next couple of days, check yourself for ticks. PSA over here. Yeah. Check yourself for ticks. Yeah.
Don't want to get ticked off.
I woke up ticked. Just ticked.
So ticked.
Wow. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Tuesdays, 10 a.m. We release these. We'll get a live show going in November, I think, gents? And we're still waiting for Mr. Luloff I think he's going to be back on next week, but we'll confirm that.
Sounds good. Great, guys.
Great. We miss you, Steven.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe because we'd really like that.